Okay, this is an interview at the Division of Military and Naval Affairs Headquarters, Latham, New York. It is the 31st of October, 2003, 1 p.m. The interviewers are Mike Russert and Wayne Clark. Could you give me your full name, date of birth, and place of birth, please?
My full name, Guido G. Pallozzi. I was born in Waterford, New York on 7/20/24.
Okay. What was your educational background prior to entering military?
High school education, graduate high school.
Do you remember where you were and your reaction when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Yes, I was living with my mother at 29 South Street in Waterford. It was on a Sunday night, and a couple of girlfriends of my sister came to pick her up to go to a movie, and they gave us the news. That's how we found out about it.
What was your reaction? Do you recall?
Well, yeah, when they said the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, a couple of swear words, but my mother didn't hear them.
Okay. Did you enlist or were you drafted?
I was drafted.
Okay. Where did you go for your induction and your basic training?
Camp Upton. And from there I went to Camp Butler, North Carolina for basic training and advanced training.
Mm-hmm. How long were you there?
I couldn't tell you exactly.
Well,
Probably around about 4 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
But then one day we were in a mess hall, and the first sergeant name was Sergeant Burke. I never forget that name. He came in and he says, "How many want to volunteer to go overseas?" But now let me preface that. My brother Phil, he's my half-brother, always looked upon him as my father. My father died when I was 4.5 years old in 1929. So he accompanied me and a couple of the other fellows down to this railroad station in Troy, New York. That's where we left from there. He says to me in Italian, "Well, yo," he's like that, "don't volunteer for anything." He was in the First World War. "Don't volunteer for anything." I said, "Okay, Pop," just like that, you know. Then
So when did you go overseas?
went overseas in 44.
Okay. Now you said you received some advanced training. What was the
Well,
advanced?
yeah, in the infantry, they give you your basic training. Then they give you, after you complete that, you go to advanced training, more or less really prepare you for the combat conditions. The other just orient you with what's going on. And so I completed that. And so some of that came in handy in combat, but the rest of it, throw it away.
Now I see you, were you assigned to BAR?
I was a BAR man for a while. I was a rifleman. I went in as a PFC, and I got in Anzio about the day after they invaded Anzio. Raining like hell, like we had a couple days ago. And the squad leader, his name was Sergeant Foss, a nice fellow, but he was killed by tree burst. He came over and he said, "Pallozzi?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You're a PFC?" I said, "Right." He said, "You're first scout." I said, "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are." I said, "You got the stripe." "I don't want the stripe. You can have it back." So you're first scout. So so as a rifleman, I was first scout. Then later on, they move you around as you lost some of your men while you became BAR man for a while. But to give us some more information about that first scout business, we had our company commander, he was a Lieutenant Spears, wonderful person, brave. He was walking alongside of me with a map, pointing out landmarks to me as a first scout. Now, how many company commanders will do that? Right alongside of me for a long range, and of course he got called back. And from there on, we went on and for quite a ways, and a place called Camp Leone, out in the outskirts of that town. And we started being bombarded by mortar, and we were ordered to dig in. So we all, of course, lay down, get our shovel out, and we started digging. I had about 3 or 4 shovelfuls of dirt dug, and something told me to move. So I moved from this spot, I moved up right here, maybe we're about 7 or 8 yards, something like that. I crawled over, and I started digging again. I got about 2 shovelfuls of dirt dug, and the mortar landed right in that spot where I had been before. Made a big hole for me. Should have done that first. I wouldn't have done much digging. And from there on, so that's when I was wounded. When mortar hits, you guys know that. When mortar hits, the shrapnel goes out this way. Because I was lying down, so I got right on my cheek, the one I'm sitting on. And of course, you call for a medic, and the medic crawls over you and he puts himself a little mic powder on there and so on and so forth, and didn't need a shot or anything, and he pats you up a little bit. And I had to get in a foxhole there. There was a couple of foxholes there prior to I got there. Get in there, lay there until dark, until they could evacuate me. In the meantime, I saw 3 of our tank destroyers, 1, 2, 3, being bombed out by their 88. 1, 2, 3, that's how accurate they were, the Germans. So I lay there until darkness, and then they evacuated me on their jeeps and went to a first aid or a hospital, the field hospital. And from there, I had to go to another tent where they operated on me, and got most of the shrapnel out. And I was told that they couldn't get it all out because some of the shrapnel was in there kind of too deep to dig it out. So from there, then I went to the 23rd General Hospital in Naples, Italy. And I was there for quite a while. That's when I received my Purple Heart officially from the officers and whoever accompanied them. And we were there for a while, and from there went into a tent city, like a replacement depot. You waited to go back to your outfit. And luckily, I went back to my same outfit. And by this time, they had gone into southern France. And I rejoined my outfit there. There were only 2 fellows there that I knew before I was wounded. Well, new recruits coming in. That's how fierce it was. As Axis Sally would say, we have the 157th Infantry Regiment here in the prison camp. We have another regiment, 157th. They're all dead, and now you're going to be next, she was saying to us. But anyway, so then we went on further in southern France, and went up into the Black Forest, the Vosges Mountains, and I was wounded again. Well, a personnel mine went off right near me and threw me forward, and it blinded me for several hours and went right in my nose. And I was holding my rifle horizontally and got my ring finger to shrapnel, but it wasn't that serious. Back to a hospital again, to field hospital. I was there for about a week and a half, then back to my outfit again. France went back there, and as we were moving ahead, we had a Lieutenant Muse, who was our company commander then. He led us a little bit too far. I guess he thought he was General Patton, but he was no General Patton. He led us too far, and we were surrounded by the SS troops. And we ran out of all supply. We had no food, had no more what ammunition we had left to do us any good. We had no water. And we were there for 2 days, and all of a sudden, the loudspeakers come out, identified themselves, and they had all our own weapons that they had confiscated, trained on us, and told us not to attempt to get out. You're not going to get out. Well, they ordered one wave to get out, and they got mowed down. So then he ordered us to destroy your weapons, he said. Destroy your weapons. And he said, we have to give up. So we destroyed our weapons.
What was the date of this?
Oh, God, I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you right now.
This was
sometime in January. Yeah. And so we destroyed our weapons as best we could, and then, of course, they rounded us up and marched us quite a ways to some kind of a staging area for them. And they're checking us out and so on and so forth, and they're patting you down. And I had a hand grenade in my pocket. I forgot all about it. I was so scared I forgot all about it. You know, if there's any reason for a German to shoot you, that was it right there. But he didn't. He took it, and he said, I don't know what he said to his cohorts there, and he threw it in a pile, and they just laughed a little bit. And thank God. That was it. So then they marched us some more. They marched us and marched us and marched us. I'm telling you, you march by day, and then in the daytime, as much as you can march. They marched and put us on these boxcars. Now, their boxcars there were almost half the size of what we have here. So they put us on those, I don't know how many of us, 100 or more of us, with a big can in the middle. Then we went in there, and we were like sardines in there. And I was down in the end with some of my buddies, and it was colder than hell.
Did you have winter gear?
Yeah, what was left of it. I mean, luckily, when I went to that hospital, their field hospital there was they discard all the clothes when you're wounded. They cut them off, take them off. Yes, I got an extra pair of pants there. I threw them over my other ones. That's what kept me warm. But of course, my feet were cold, and I had no dry socks. It was snow, and so on. And the train takes off, and we're colder than hell on there. And I had a pocket knife hidden in my boot. They never detected that. I started shaving wood off the boxcar. We started a fire, which was a mistake in a way because smoke out those little vents they have up there, they weren't window vents, smoke started going out of those things. Of course, then the train stops. Doors open, slide open, on comes a couple of the guards, right down to that end of the car where I was sitting, and there I was sitting down, my back to the wall there, and he come along, he saw that, and of course he saw they had the knife, I didn't get a chance to hide it, and gave me one big kick, right? You know what I'm saying? One big kick, like those shoes those guys had, they're like I call them cobble boots, you know. Boy, that's just like a shot of whatever going through my head. But anyway, that's as far as they got with that. They didn't shoot me there either. And then we continued on, and then we were getting strafed by our own planes. So we had to get off and go and hide in the woods and so on, and lay down in the ditches until they figured it was all clear, and we got back on again. Then we someplace else, and then we got off. We had to march some more. I don't know how many miles we marched. We had a couple of our buddies. One of my buddies didn't have shoes, or one shoe. The other shoe, he had all kind of rag wrapped around his foot, and he fell out. And the two of us tried to help him. And they come over and they butted the other fellow with their rifle butt, didn't get me. And we couldn't pick him up. They wouldn't let us pick him up. So then we went on, I don't know whatever happened to him. And we went on and on and on until...
Did you ever receive any food from the Germans at this time? Or?
None while we're walking. Now, I shouldn't say that. When we were at the first area they staged us in after we first captured, it was at night, one of the Germans, God bless him, he came over with a piece of bread and gave it to me, and another fellow gave us a piece of bread. And I don't know if he gave anybody else any because it was too dark to see anything. But that was the only food we got there. Then we got to march at Stalag 12A. That was almost like a staging area for them, I guess, for us. And that's where they interviewed you and so on and give you your card, and they sent the information to the Red Cross and so on, so they inform your parents, whatever. And we were there for quite a while, and the sun was out, getting just a little bit warmer then, and we're sitting outside in the sun and picking the lights off ourselves, snapping the lights, pick them off, and you give me, you snap them. And we were there for quite a while, and then they moved out of there. I went to, they marched us for quite a ways, and they put us on a train again. So I can remember exactly where it went, up to Bremervoort or Bremerhaven. 10B was the name of the camp, and then they moved us from 10B to 10C, which was up in the seaport, as far as they could go. And I forget how long we were there. And General Montgomery, British forces, came and liberated the camp. But exactly what day it was, I couldn't tell you right now. I may have something written down to that effect, but I can't think of it now. And from there, our boys come in, some of the Americans come in afterwards, and they wanted people to start taking information from individuals. And they said, how many want to volunteer? Well, I didn't want to volunteer for that because my brother said, don't volunteer for anything. So I didn't want to volunteer for that. They said, you won't be here forever. Said, you'll be out in the next wave. You'll be going to Belgium. So I sat down at one of the long tables outside, getting information, writing it down. And all about later on that afternoon or the next morning, I think it was, they moved us out, and they flew us into Belgium. Went to the university there. I don't know if they call it University of Belgium, whatever it is, but I know that the American force took it over, and we were there, and we got deloused again, over and over again, gave us clean clothes, and they had a big room there. They interviewed us, and they talked to us, and they said, now, your stomach has shrunk considerably, because while we're in prison camp, all we got was piece of bread about that square like that. Got that every 3 days for 3 men. We had soup with water, hot water with grass in it. That was soup. That's what we had. Got nothing more than that, what I just told you. And I was getting a little ahead of myself before this, but maybe you can put it into context. And so we went to Belgium, the university there, and Brussels, that's what it was, University of Brussels, that's what it was. And they told us that your stomach is shrunk, we'll feed you a little at a time, your eyes are going to be bigger in your stomach, don't take more than you can take because you're going to get sick or you're going to die. We found that out because in the prison camp when we got liberated, I'm going ahead of myself, I can't help it, but I keep thinking about these afterwards. We never got a Red Cross package all the while we were in prison camp. Never saw one, not a one, until the day we were liberated. Then when our boys came in afterwards, the next day, they had Red Cross packages. Well, they got them from the German homes. They were giving them to all the German people, and they brought them to us. And they gave us our package, and two of our fellows got them. They went off into a distance and over to the latrine, and they were eating, and they died there. They couldn't wait to get enough food in them. Their stomach couldn't take it, and they died there in that latrine. So that was the only Red Cross bag I ever got, and it came. Our boys gave it to us. We never got it from the Germans. And we're in Belgium. Then from there, afterwards, I think we were there about a week or so, a week and a half or something like that. And then we come back. We went to Le Havre, France, and we're standing in line there, waiting to get on board the ship. And all of a sudden, I'm going to tell you just the way it is. All of a sudden, all the red lights and sirens come in, big entourage come, the Red Cross with some of our officers come over with Red Cross package. I figured we're all going to get a Red Cross package. They had the Red Cross package, handed it to one fellow, they took the picture and they took it back and off they went. We never got a goddamn one. And that soured me on the Red Cross at that particular time anyway. And from there I went to, I think it was Jersey, I don't know what's the camp in Jersey, New Jersey. I don't know if it was Dix or where it was, but well, we got off there, and then all the whacks and other people come down and grab us by the arm and made us feel real at home, real comfortable, you know. It's all psychological, I guess. And then we went up to a big auditorium, and that's where we're all seated there, and they had our office up on the stage, and they got talking to us about it, and one thing or another. And then one of the chaplains, a priest, gets on, and he gets talking about it, and he said, now, he says, you fellas eat all you want, take all you want, but eat all you take. They had big signs all over the place. Eat all you want, but take all you want, eat all you take. So then, when the chaplain got talking about it, he said, you got to be going home on furlough, he said. And I want you to remember one thing. When you sit at the table with your family in front, he said, when you ask for salt, say, just pass the salt, please. No adjectives. So we know what that meant. We all got a kick out of that. And that was that. So then they said, you're not going to get a 30-day furlough, you're not going to get a 60-day furlough, you're going to get a 90-day furlough. 90-day furlough, we went back home. And luckily, when I got home, there was four or five of my buddies that I graduated with. We're all home, a couple of guys from the Navy, the other guys from the service, from the Army. And we had a hell of a time all the while we were home there. I wish I had all the money we spent on the drinks then. And from there, we were going to go up to Lake Placid for rehab. Needed it. When I got up there, I had rapid pulse, high blood pressure, I was overweight. And I guess all we were doing was eating and drinking, making up for lost time. And we're up at the Lake Placid Club, I think, for a week's time. And from there, we went to Camp Lee, Virginia. And that was the first time I ever saw Buddy Bear in person. I was walking and back, I'm going to one of the offices there. And I was there for a while, and then we got more interviews, and they asked me if I wanted to re-enlist. Because by this time, I had made sergeant. I was a squad leader, process of elimination. The oldest one there, as far as time's concerned. And they asked me if I want to re-enlist. I said, we got a rocker for you. I said, you'll be staff sergeant. I said, no thanks, I want to go home. So that was it, I went home. And ironically, on the 31st of October, when I got home. And here it is, 31st of October here.
I noticed that when I looked at your form.
Yeah.
What was when you went into Anzio, you were the day after D-Day, what was the beach like when you went in?
It was quiet. It was quiet. From what we heard, the general who was leading the attack on Anzio, I guess he screwed up. He should have kept right on going, but he felt as though maybe it might have been a trap up there, so you have to give him credit for that much anyway, and he's left us there. We were stalemated there for months. And you couldn't move in the daytime. You had to move around at nighttime, because the Germans were way up on the mountain, up on the hill there, and they had the railroad guns there, Anzio Annie, up there. And that thing could fire a long way. They'd fire that, and they'd wheel it back in the mountains, so our planes couldn't spot it. So that's the way it was there. We couldn't do anything there until one day after I don't know, about 6 weeks or so. I don't know how long it was. They were stalemated there. So then they decided we had to get out. That's when we started. From there, I told you, went to Camp Leone, out in the woods, out in the field rather, when I was wounded. So that was that, and I added a little humor to it. When I was interviewed when we were volunteering on PBS one time, quite a while back, around Veterans Day for that purpose, I said, I wanted to see the big cities. I wanted to see Rome. I was wounded. I didn't get a chance to see Rome. I was in the hospital and so on. I said, well, maybe I get to see Paris. So I got wounded again. Didn't get to see Paris from my outfit. Maybe I'll see Berlin. But I never saw Berlin because they captured us and they kept me away from Berlin. So I never saw the three big cities.
Did you, were you ever aware of the concentration camps?
Yes, because in our travels there, I saw a lot of these, I guess they're all the Jewish people with the outfits they gave them, the stripes and they had on there. We saw some, they looked, they were emaciated. So we saw some, somewhere along the way, I don't know exactly where it was. And then we knew then that there was a concentration camp nearby, and that's the only time I was aware of anything like that.
Did you ever make use of the GI Bill?
I wanted to. I wanted to become a tailor. And at the time, like my father died in 1929, and we had 3 boys. My brother Gene was in the 204 Combat Engineers over in Germany, in Europe. My younger brother, we were 14 months apart, incidentally. My younger brother was in the Navy. He was on LST 532. He was in on the invasion of Normandy. And, of course, I was on the other one. I was in the infantry. So all 3 of us were in. So the only help my mother got was any allotment we were able to send what the government added to it. And got home. I said, well, I'm going to take advantage of the GI Bill. I said, I want to go to tailor school. Well, the nearest tailor school was in Brooklyn, New York. And which means I'd have to go and stay there, and couldn't commute every day, but commute every weekend. And my mother needed support, so I had to forego that. I had to get a job to help support my mother. And my younger brother, when he came home, he wanted to go to college. Well, he took advantage of the GI Bill. He went to college. My other brother, he didn't do it. He was working on and off. He didn't have a steady job all the time, but he worked on and off. And he helped support my mother somewhat, but I was the main support of my mother.
Did you ever use the 5220 club?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we used that. The group of us were together. I meant all my graduation buddies, so yeah, we used it to the max.
Did you ever see USO shows?
I never did. I never did see it. The only
celebrity was Max Barrett. Knowing the name. But the only USO person I saw, and I couldn't tell you their name, I couldn't tell when I was in the hospital bed in Naples, the 23rd General Hospital. Someone come around to cheer you up and sing to you. And it's the first time I ever heard the song, Mersey Dose, Zosie Dose, and she sang that to me. It's the first time I ever heard that song. Did you ever stay in contact with anyone from service?
Yeah, I tried to. In fact, I tried to. I couldn't reach anybody, and only one person contacted me. One way or he got hold of my name some way or another. His name was Wirtz. Last name was Wirtz. We were in the 78th Division together. But then I don't know whatever happened to him. But he made it, of course. But that's all I can tell you about that.
Join any veterans organizations?
Yeah, I'm a charter member of the VFW 5800 in Waterford. I belong to the DAV. I belong to the Purple Heart. I belong to the New York ex-POWs. Northeast New York chapter, IPOW. I'm the chaplain in that group right now. Some chaplain, huh? And yeah, the only organization I don't belong to, I did join for what was the American Legion back home. Was in that for a while, and then they were having a lot of trouble financially. Some of the guys were skimming money, and then they went broke. So they disbanded it. Maybe about a year and a half, 2 years later, they started it up again, and they sent a letter out to all the former members, and they wanted us to contribute X number of dollars to make up for that deficit. No way. I'm not going to subsidize somebody else who enjoyed all our money. I'm going to. So they soured me on the American Legion locally. So it's the only organization I don't belong to, but I belong to all the others.
How do you think your time in service changed or affected your life?
Well, I think it affected me, and it gave me faith, because going back to that day I was wounded on Anzio, leaving Anzio, what made me move from one spot to the other? You know, so I figured that somebody was looking out for me, and it gave me faith that way. And throughout other things happening, I figured that I skirted around a lot of situations where it could have been disastrous, and I was fortunate enough to get away from anything like that. So it changed me in many ways. Even to this day, I still pray and thank God for what I've received.
Okay.
What was your impression of the BAR? Did you think that was a good weapon?
Yeah, it was a good weapon, but it was also it attracted a lot of attention from the enemy, you know, the firepower. Then when they saw all that firepower, then they wanted to eliminate that firepower. But it was a little bit on the heavy side, and you weren't too mobile. They had tripods. Sometimes you get down and you dig in, but you didn't have time to go trying to set it up, you know, because you'd be a sitting duck. But at the time, yes, I thought it was a good firepower. It was good. The M1 that's what we had, the M1. That was a good weapon. It was water cooled and so on. Held eight rounds in each clip, I guess. And we had a grenade launcher on it. I never had an opportunity to use the grenade launcher, but we had one of our lieutenants had a carbine with a grenade launcher on it. And I saw him knock out a tank with it. You can knock out a tank and you get the tracks, you know, you knock it out. But the M1 rifle was a good rifle. The BAR rifle had a lot of power. It was good. Of course, everything's more sophisticated today. But other than that, the service, what I had gone through, yeah, when you're young, you know, I went in at 18 years of age. I had 3 birthdays in the service, and those 3 birthdays, it's almost like having 10 or 20 birthdays. You become a man, from a boy or a young man to an adult man, and that's what happens to you. And you realize that there's going to be certain things in this world you cannot change. I realized that then. You cannot change. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. But that's the way it changed me. It gave me more faith.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.